Danny Cole sat alone in the corner of the cafeteria. His tray held simple food, some kind of protein block and a cup of water. Around him, hundreds of alien students filled the massive hall with noise and movement. Not one of them sat within 10 meters of him. He was used to it by now. The Galactic Academy on Station Velar 7 was supposed to be a place where young beings from across 100 worlds came together to learn. Diplomacy, science, the arts of peace between species. That was what the brochures said. That was what the Human Integration Council believed when they sent Danny here on a scholarship. The reality was different. Danny looked human in every way: brown hair, average height, quiet brown eyes. He wore the same gray student uniform as everyone else. But to the aliens around him, he might as well have been wearing a sign that said dangerous animal. Earth was classified as a Class 12, the highest rating possible. A planet where the gravity was crushing, the weather could kill in minutes, and nearly every living thing had evolved to hunt, poison, or destroy. The other species in the galaxy had learned about Earth 30 years ago when humans made first contact. They had been terrified ever since. Danny took a bite of his food. It tasted like nothing. A tray clattered down across from him, and he looked up to see sliding into the seat. She was human too: pale skin, red hair pulled back tight, sharp green eyes that never missed anything. She came from the lunar colonies, born in low gravity, but she still carried Earth in her bones. "You look like someone kicked your dog," she said. "I do not have a dog." "It is an expression, Danny." She started eating. "Bad day." "Same as always." Glanced around at the empty seats surrounding them. "They are still afraid of you, huh?" "They are afraid of what I am. There is a difference." She shrugged. "Same result, lonely lunch." Danny almost smiled. Almost. Was the only person on this station who treated him like a normal human being. She had grown up around aliens on Luna Station, so she understood the fear. She just did not share it. "Professor called on me in class again today," Danny said. Groaned. What did he want this time? "He asked me to explain why humans had so many wars in their history. He wanted me to justify it in front of everyone." "What did you say?" "I told him the truth. That Earth is a hard world, and hard worlds make hard choices. That we fought because we had to, and we stopped fighting when we found better ways. That we are still learning." Raised an eyebrow, and he said that proved humans were primitive and violent by nature. Then he moved on to the next topic. Stabbed her food with her fork. "That guy is such a waste of oxygen." Danny shrugged. He had stopped caring about Professor weeks ago. The tall, thin instructor had made his hatred of humans clear from the first day. Danny was not going to change his mind. So Danny did not try. He just answered the questions, did the work, and kept his head down. That was the plan: stay quiet. Graduate, prove that humans could be more than the monsters the galaxy feared. After lunch, Danny walked through the station's corridors toward his next class. The halls were wide and bright, designed for species of all sizes. Small birds flew overhead. Massive reptiles stomped past on 4 legs, and everywhere Danny went, beings moved out of his way. He turned a corner and stopped. Stood in the middle of the corridor. He was 3 meters tall, covered in thick gray hide with 4 arms and a face full of sharp teeth. His people were warriors. They had conquered a dozen worlds before joining the Galactic Council, and was the son of a powerful warlord, which meant he thought he owned every room he walked into. 3 of his followers stood behind him, all looking at Danny like he was something they had found on the bottom of their boots. The human said, his voice was deep and rough, "I heard you were talking in class today, trying to make your species sound respectable." Danny said nothing. "My father told me about humans," continued. "He said you are weak, soft, that you only survived on your world because nothing intelligent lived there to stop you." He stepped closer. "He said I should never be afraid of something that bleeds so easily." Danny looked up at the massive alien. His face showed nothing. "I am going to class," he said quietly. Laughed. His followers laughed with him. "See, weak, you will not even defend your own kind." He leaned down until his face was close to Danny's. "One day, human, I am going to show you what real strength looks like, and you are going to break." Danny held his gaze for 3 long seconds. Then he simply walked around and continued down the corridor. Behind him, he heard snarl something in. Danny did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. The alien was angry, Being ignored was worse than being challenged. Good. Danny kept walking. He did not look back. That night, alone in his small quarters, Danny sat on his bed and looked at a photograph. It was old, printed on real paper. A family stood in front of a small house in the desert. A man, a woman, two young boys. Danny was the smaller boy in the picture. He had been 8 years old when that photo was taken. A year before the Arizona collapse. A year before the earthquakes and the fires and the 3 weeks he spent alone in the wilderness, waiting for rescue that almost did not come. His family had not been so lucky. He set the photo down gently on his small desk. His hands were steady. They were always steady now, but his eyes were cold and distant, looking at something far away. The galaxy thought humans were dangerous because of their strength, because they came from a world that tried to kill them every day. But the galaxy did not understand the real reason humans were dangerous. It was not strength. It was loss. The training hall was the largest room on Station Velar 7. It had to be. The obstacle course inside was designed for beings of every size and shape. Climbing walls for species with claws, swimming pools for aquatic races, balance beams for creatures with multiple legs, and running tracks that twisted through all of it like veins through a body. Danny stood at the starting line with 40 other students. He was the only human in this group. Instructor, a stocky with scales the color of dried blood, walked along the line. His 4 legs made heavy sounds on the metal floor. "Today's exercise is simple," he said. "Complete the course, your time will be recorded, your performance will affect your grade." He stopped in front of Danny and looked down at him. "All students will participate, no exceptions." Danny nodded. He had expected this. Around him, the other students stretched and prepared. Most of them were larger than Danny, stronger, faster in short bursts. They had claws and tails and natural armor. They looked at the obstacle course like it was a game. Danny looked at it like it was a problem to solve. The starting horn sounded. The other students exploded forward. A male took the lead immediately, his 4 arms pulling him up the first climbing wall like it was nothing. A pair of students used their long legs to leap across the balance section. A simply flew over the first 3 obstacles. Danny ran. He did not try to match their speed. He did not try to show off. He just moved, steady, efficient, never stopping. When he reached the climbing wall, he did not power up it like He found the handholds, planned his route, and climbed with careful precision. He fell behind in the first minute. By the 3rd minute, most of the other students had finished or were close to finishing. But Danny kept going. The swimming section slowed him down. Humans were not built for water like some species. But Danny had learned to swim in the floods that hit the Arizona camps. He knew how to move through water without wasting energy. He knew how to breathe. The balance section was easier. His body remembered years of walking across broken ground, climbing through collapsed buildings, moving through a world that had tried to kill him every single day. When he finally crossed the finish line, most of the other students were already resting. Some of them laughed. A student made a joke in his own language, and his friends joined in. Danny walked off the course without looking at any of them. But instructor was looking at his with a strange expression. "Cole," he called out. Danny stopped. "Your time was not impressive," the instructor said slowly. "But your efficiency rating was the highest in the group. You burned less energy than anyone else, by a significant margin." The laughter stopped. Danny shrugged. "On Earth, you learn not to waste energy. Sometimes the thing chasing you does not get tired." He walked away before anyone could respond. Later that day, Danny sat in the station's small garden. It was one of the few places on Velar 7 that had real plants. Most of them were from other worlds, strange colors, strange shapes, but some were from Earth, a small oak tree, some grass, a few flowers that Danny did not recognize. He liked it here. It was quiet. Found him sitting on a bench near the oak tree. "I heard about the training exercise," she said, sitting down next to him. "News travels fast. You impressed some people," she paused. "You scared others." Danny looked at the tree. Its leaves were green, just like they had been on Earth. "I did not try to do either." "I know," was quiet for a moment. "Danny, where did you learn to move like that? I grew up in low gravity. I had to train for years just to walk normally on Earth. But you move like you were born in a war zone." Danny did not answer right away. When he did, his voice was flat. I was. Waited, she had learned not to push him. Arizona, Danny said finally. The collapse. I was 9 years old. The ground opened up, fires everywhere. I spent 3 weeks alone before anyone found me. He looked at his hands. You learn fast when you have no choice. Did not say anything. She just put her hand on his shoulder and left it there. They sat in silence until the station's lights dimmed to signal evening. The next morning, Danny was walking to class when he heard a sound that made him stop. A voice, young, scared. Please, I did not mean to. He moved toward the sound without thinking. Around the corner in a small alcove between two storage units, 3 students surrounded a young human girl. She was small, maybe 16 years old, with dark hair and wide, terrified eyes. Her name was Myra. Danny had seen her in the cafeteria a few times, always alone, always quiet. One of them pushed her against the wall. You bumped into me, human. You need to apologize properly. I said I was sorry. Not good enough. Danny stepped into the alcove. The 3 turned. They were younger then, but they had the same look in their eyes, the same hunger to prove themselves against something weaker. Leave her alone, Danny said. The leader laughed. Or what? You will report us. No one cares about humans here. Danny did not respond. He just walked forward until he was standing between Myra and the 3 aliens. Then he stopped and looked at them. He did not raise his fists. He did not threaten. He just stood there completely still and met their eyes one by one. Something in his gaze made the leader's smile fade. This is not worth our time, they said finally. He gestured to his friends. Let's go. They left. Myra was shaking. Thank you, I do not know what they would have. Stay close to other humans when you can, Danny said. His voice was gentle but firm. There are more of us here than you think. We look out for each other. She nodded quickly. Danny started to walk away, then stopped. And Myra, you did nothing wrong, never apologize for existing. She watched him go with something like hope in her eyes. Across the corridor, hidden in the shadows of a doorway, watched too. His eyes were not full of hope. They were full of something much darker. He had been looking for a way to break the quiet human, to prove that Earth's children, we the station's lower levels, were different from the bright corridors above. Down here, the lights were dim. The walls were bare metal. Maintenance tunnels and storage bays stretched in every direction like a maze. Security cameras existed, but they were old and easy to avoid if you knew how. Danny was walking back to his quarters through one of these corridors. It was late. He had stayed behind in the library, studying for an exam that was still 2 weeks away. The quiet helped him think. Then he heard the scream. It was high and sharp and full of fear, and he knew the voice. Myra. Danny ran. He followed the sound through 2 corridors and down a short flight of stairs. The scream came again, closer now, and then cut off suddenly. That was worse. Silence meant someone had made her stop. He found them in a storage bay. The door was open. The lights inside were dim but enough to see. Myra was on the ground, pressed against the far wall. Her lip was bleeding. Her eyes were wide with terror. Stood over her, 6 of his followers spread out behind him, blocking the only exit. They had disabled the security cameras. Danny could see the broken units on the ceiling. I knew you would come, said. His voice was calm and satisfied. Humans are so predictable. You always come running when one of your weak little pack is in danger. Danny stepped into the room. Let her go. Laughed. No, I do not think I will. He gestured to 2 of his followers. Take care of him, do not kill him. I want him awake for what comes next. 2 moved toward Danny. They were both bigger than him, both trained as warriors, both confident that this would be easy. Danny waited until they were close. Then he moved. The first swung a massive fist at Danny's head. Danny was not there. He had already ducked low and moved to the side. His elbow drove into the alien's knee joint, the weakest point in leg structure. The alien howled and fell. The second one grabbed for Danny with all 4 arms. Danny twisted, using the alien's own momentum to throw him off balance. A sharp strike to the throat made him choke. A knee to the face put him down. 3 seconds, 2 opponents, both on the ground. The room went silent. Danny looked at, I said let her go. Size narrowed, get him, all of you. The remaining 4 followers charged. Danny did not fight like a warrior. Warriors fought with honor, with rules, with expectations of how combat should work. Danny fought like something else, like a creature that had grown up in a world where everything wanted to kill him, where survival meant being faster, smarter, and more willing to do whatever it took. He targeted weak points, joints, throats, eyes. He moved constantly, never letting them surround him, never staying in one place long enough for their superior strength to matter. When one of them grabbed him, he bit down on the hand until it let go. When another tried to tackle him, he redirected the charge into a wall. One by one, they fell. Danny was not untouched. He had bruises forming, a cut on his arm, blood running from his nose, but he was still standing. And they were not. Stared at the scene in front of him. 6 of his warriors, trained since childhood, stronger than any human had a right to face, lay groaning on the floor. And the small human stood in the middle of them, breathing hard, looking at with eyes that held no fear. "Your turn," Danny said. Roared and charged. He was faster than his followers, stronger. His 4 arms swung like weapons, each blow powerful enough to shatter bone. Danny blocked what he could and dodged what he could not. A glancing hit caught his shoulder and spun him sideways. Another grazed his ribs. But Danny kept moving. He was not trying to overpower. That was impossible. Instead, he was watching, learning, finding the pattern in the alien's attacks. There, swung with his upper right arm, his balance shifted. For one moment, his guard was open. Danny struck. His fist hit his throat. His knee drove into the alien's midsection. His elbow crashed into the side of his head. 3 hits in less than a second, each one precise, each one devastating. Staggered back, gasping for air. Danny did not stop. He could not stop. If he gave time to recover, he would lose. So he pressed forward, hitting again and again, targeting every weakness, every soft spot, every place where pain would slow the massive alien down. Fell to his knees. Danny grabbed him by the face and forced him to look up. "Listen to me," Danny said. His voice was quiet, cold. "On my world, children learn to fight things that want to eat them before they learn to read. We hunt predators that would give your warriors nightmares. We survive disasters that would wipe out your entire species." He leaned closer. "You are not scary. You are not strong. You are just a bully who picked the wrong target." He released and stepped back. "If you ever touch another human again, if you even look at one of us wrong, I will find you. And next time I will not stop." Danny turned his back on the fallen warrior. He walked to Myra and helped her stand. "Can you walk?" he asked. She nodded, still shaking. "Then let's go." They walked out of the storage bay together, leaving and his followers broken on the floor. An hour later found Danny in his quarters. He was sitting on his bed, cleaning the blood from his hands with a wet cloth. His movements were slow and methodical. His face was calm. "Too calm." "I heard what happened," said. "The whole station is talking about it." Danny did not look up. "Is Myra okay?" "She is in the medical wing. Minor injuries. She will be fine." Sat down across from him. "Danny, what you did?" "I did what I had to do." "You took on 7 warriors, alone." "They were going to hurt her. They would not stop until someone made them stop." He finally looked at, his eyes were distant. "I stopped them." Was quiet for a long moment. She had known Danny for months. She had seen him endure insults and walk away from fights. She had watched him be patient and calm and controlled. Now she understood why. It was not because he was weak. It was because he knew what he was capable of, and he had been trying so hard not to let it out. "What happens now?" she asked. Danny set down the cloth. His hands were clean, but his knuckles were bruised and split. "Now they come for me," he said. "'S father is powerful. He will not let this go, and the administration will not protect me. I am just a human." He took a breath. "But I would do it again every time, because that is what we do. We protect our own." Reached out and took his hand. "You are not alone," she said. "Whatever comes next, you will not face it alone." Danny looked at her. For just a moment, something in his eyes softened. "Thank you." 4 guards in full armor stood at his door. Commander herself led them, a tall reptilian female with cold yellow eyes and scales the color of dark stone. She looked at Danny like he was a problem that needed to be solved. "Danny Cole," she said, "you will come with us. You are to face a tribunal for assault on 7 students." Danny nodded. He had expected this. He did not resist. He walked between the guards through the station corridors, past students who stopped to stare, past instructors who whispered to each other. News had spread through Velar 7 like fire. Everyone knew what the human had done. Everyone had an opinion. The tribunal chamber was a large circular room at the heart of the administrative section. A curved table sat at one end, raised above the floor. 3 beings sat behind it: station administrator, a pale blue with 4 eyes and a permanent expression of worry; instructor, the who ran the training exercises; and professor, whose thin face could barely hide his satisfaction. Danny was brought to stand in the center of the room. The gallery behind him was packed. Human students sat on one side, alien students on the other. The division was clear and cold. Sat in the front row of the alien section. His injuries had been treated, but bruises still marked his gray hide. His father stood behind him, warlord, a massive in ceremonial armor, his 4 arms crossed over his chest, his eyes burning with rage. Administrator spoke first. "Danny Cole, you stand accused of assaulting 7 students without provocation. The injuries you caused are severe. 1 student may never fully recover." He paused. "Do you deny these charges?" Danny's voice was steady. "I deny that it was without provocation. The evidence suggests otherwise. The students claim they were attacked without warning." "They are lying." Warlord stepped forward. "You dare accuse my son of lying? You are nothing. A primitive from a rock that should have been sterilized centuries ago. You attacked my people, and you will face justice for it." Administrator held up a hand. "Warlord, please, this is a station matter. We will handle it through proper channels." "Your proper channels allowed this animal to nearly kill my son. If you do not give him to me, I will withdraw all support from this station. See how long your little academy survives without our funding." The threat hung in the air like poison. Danny watched the administrator's face. He could see the calculation happening behind those 4 eyes. Politics, money, power, compared to those things, 1 human student was nothing. "Perhaps," administrator said slowly, "a compromise can be." "Wait." The voice came from the back of the room. Everyone turned. Stood up, she was holding a... "I have evidence," she said. "Evidence that shows what really happened." Commander frowned. The security cameras in that section were disabled. "The main cameras, yes," walked forward, her boots echoing on the floor. "But there is a secondary monitoring system. It is old, meant for maintenance tracking. No one thought to disable it because no one knew it existed." She stopped in front of the tribunal table. "I found it, and I found the footage." She placed the on the table and activated the display. The room watched in silence as the scene played out, and his followers dragging Myra into the storage bay, striking her, Myra screaming, and then Danny arriving, not attacking without provocation, but walking in and asking them to let her go. The footage showed everything: the attacking first, Danny defending himself, every moment of the fight, including Danny's final words to. When it ended, the room was silent. Administrator looked like he had swallowed something rotten. Professor was very still. And Warlord's face had gone from rage to something colder, something more dangerous. Myra stood up in the gallery. Her voice was small but clear. "I want to speak." The administrator hesitated, then nodded. Myra walked to the center of the room and stood beside Danny. She was shaking, but she did not stop. "And his friends have been hurting human students for months," she said. "Pushing us, threatening us, telling us we do not belong here. The administration did nothing. The instructors did nothing. They just looked the other way because humans are not important enough to protect." She turned to look at the gallery. Other human students were nodding. Some had tears in their eyes. "Danny is the first person who stood up for us, the first person who said no, and now you want to punish him for it?" Her voice cracked but held. "That is not justice. That is just more of the same." She walked back to her seat. Danny spoke into the silence that followed. "I know what you want to do. You want to sacrifice me to keep the peace, to make the warlord happy, to avoid the hard questions about what has been happening on this station." He looked at each member of the tribunal in turn. "But before you make that choice, I want you to understand something." He took a breath. "There are 8 billion humans on Earth, and every single one of them grew up on a world that tried to kill them every day. We survived floods and fires and earthquakes and predators. We built civilizations in deserts and ice fields and jungles that would eat your species alive. We did not conquer our world. We endured it. His voice grew harder, and every single one of those 8 billion humans would have done exactly what I did. Not because we are violent, not because we are primitive, but because we protect our own. Always, no matter the cost. He looked directly at Warlord. You call us weak, you call us soft. But your son had 7 warriors and a helpless victim, and he still lost to one human student who was not even trying to kill him. Think about that. Think about what would happen if we were trying. The warlord's eyes narrowed, but he did not speak. Danny turned back to the tribunal. Do what you want with me. I will accept whatever punishment you decide. But know this, if you hand me over to justice, every human in this galaxy will know what happened. And they will remember. We are very good at remembering. The chamber was silent. Administrator looked at his fellow tribunal members. Instructor's expression was unreadable. Professor stared at the table, refusing to meet anyone's eyes. Commander stepped forward. Her voice was quieter than before. Administrator, I have reviewed the evidence. I have also reviewed the security reports from the past several months. She paused. There is a pattern of harassment against human students that was ignored by this administration. If this goes to the Galactic Council, it will not reflect well on any of us. Administrator's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. You are suggesting. I am suggesting that we consider all the facts before making a decision that word had spread beyond the station. Representatives from the Galactic Council had arrived during the night, 3 senior diplomats who now sat in observation seats along the wall. News feeds from a dozen worlds had requested access. The story of the human student who defeated 7 warriors had traveled faster than anyone expected. Danny stood in the same spot as yesterday. His face was calm. His hands were steady at his sides. Whatever happened next, he was ready. Administrator looked older than he had the day before. The weight of the decision pressed down on his thin shoulders. He glanced at the council representatives, then at Warlord, then finally at Danny. This tribunal has reviewed all evidence, he said, including footage of the incident, medical reports, and testimony from multiple witnesses. He paused. We have also received a report from the Galactic Council regarding the treatment of human students on this station. Professor shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The evidence is clear, Administrator continued. Danny Cole acted in defense of a fellow student against an unprovoked attack. His use of force, while significant, was proportional to the threat he faced. He took a breath. The charges against Danny Cole are dismissed. A murmur swept through the gallery. Some voices were relieved, others were angry. Warlord stepped forward. This is unacceptable, my son. Your son, Commander interrupted, led an attack on a minor. The evidence shows it clearly. Under Galactic Council law, that is a serious offense. She turned to face him fully. The Council has been informed. Any retaliation against Danny Cole or any other human student will be treated as an act of aggression against a member species. The Warlord's 4 fists clenched. His face twisted with rage. But behind him, the Council representatives watched with cold, patient eyes. He knew when he was beaten. This is not finished, he said through gritted teeth. Yes, it is, replied. And the students who participated in the attack are expelled from the academy, effective immediately. You have 1 hour to leave the station. For a long moment stood frozen. His son looked at the floor, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Then, without another word, the warlord turned and walked out, followed along with the other expelled students. The door closed behind them. Administrator spoke again, his voice tired but official. In light of recent events, this administration is implementing new policies. All students will receive equal protection under station law. Harassment based on species will result in immediate expulsion. Integration programs will be expanded to promote understanding between human and non-human students. He looked at Danny. Mr. Cole, you are free to go. Danny nodded. He did not smile, he did not celebrate. He simply turned and walked toward the exit. But before he reached the door, he stopped. Professor was watching him from the tribunal table. This thin face was unreadable, but his eyes held something that might have been hatred or might have been fear. Danny met his gaze and held it. A moment later, looked away. Danny kept walking. Outside the chamber was waiting. She threw her arms around him before he could say anything. "You did it," she said into his shoulder. "You actually did it." "We did it," Danny corrected. "You found the footage. Myra, the other humans stood together." He pulled back and looked at her. "I just hit people." Laughed. It was a relieved, slightly hysterical sound. Around them, human students gathered. Some shook Danny's hand. Others just nodded with respect in their eyes. Myra pushed through the crowd and hugged him tightly. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." Danny patted her back gently. "Thank yourself. You were brave, braver than you know." As the crowd began to thin, something unexpected happened. A young student approached Danny. He was smaller than Professor, with pale blue skin and nervous eyes. "I wanted to say," he hesitated, "I wanted to say that I am sorry for how my people have treated humans, and I wanted to ask," he swallowed, "what is Earth really like?" Danny studied him for a moment. Then, for the first time since arriving on Velar 7, he smiled. "Beautiful," he said, "dangerous home." The student smiled back just a little. That evening, Danny stood on the observation deck. The stars spread out before him like scattered diamonds. Somewhere in that vast darkness was a tiny blue dot, Earth. Too far to see from here, but he knew it was there. He could feel it. "Found him there like she always did." "Professor resigned," she said, standing beside him. "Submitted his notice an hour ago." Danny nodded. He knew what was coming. Better to leave than be pushed out. "The other aliens are talking too, about humans, about what you said in the tribunal." She paused. "Some of them are scared, but some of them are curious. They want to understand." "That is all we ever wanted," Danny said. "A chance to be understood, not as monsters, not as primitives, just as people." They stood in silence for a while, watching the stars. "What will you do now?" asked. Danny thought about it. "Keep studying. That was always the plan. Prove that humans belong here not through violence but through everything else. Science, diplomacy, art." He looked at her. "We are more than survivors. We are builders, dreamers. That is what I want them to see." Smiled. "You sound like a recruitment poster." "Maybe I should write one." She laughed. A small voice came from behind them. "Danny." Myra stood in the doorway of the observation deck. She looked nervous, like she was not sure if she was interrupting. "Come here," Danny said. She walked over and stood with them at the window. "I wanted to tell you something," Myra said. "I decided to stay at the academy. I was thinking about going home after what happened, but then I thought about what you did, what you said." She took a breath. "I want to be strong like you someday." Danny knelt down so he was at her level. His eyes were gentle. "Myra, listen to me. You already are strong. You survived. You stood in front of a tribunal and told the truth when it would have been easier to stay silent. That takes more courage than anything I did." He put a hand on her shoulder. "Strength is not about fighting. It is about standing up when everything in you wants to fall down. You did that. Do not ever forget it." Myra's eyes were wet, but she was smiling. Danny stood and turned back to the window. On one side, Myra on the other, and the stars beyond waiting. "They keep forgetting where we come from," Danny said quietly. "The radiation, the predators, the disasters. They look at us and see soft skin and small bodies and think we are weak." He watched a distant ship cross the darkness like a shooting star. "But we are not weak. We never were. We just learned to hide our strength because we had to, because we knew that showing it too soon would make enemies we did not need." His eyes hardened just for a moment, then softened again. "Maybe now they will remember. Maybe now they will see us clearly." Leaned against his shoulder, "And if they forget again." Danny smiled. It was small and tired and full of things he would never say out loud. "Then we remind them, as many times as it takes, because that is what humans do." He looked at the stars one more time, at the galaxy that had underestimated his people for 30 years, at the future that was still being written. "We endure, we adapt, we survive." His voice dropped to a whisper. "And we never, ever give up." "Take back." The administrator was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "This tribunal will recess until tomorrow. We will review all evidence and render a verdict at that time." He looked at Danny. "The accused will be confined to quarters under guard." Danny nodded. As the guards led him out, he passed. She met his eyes and gave him a small nod. It was not over yet. But for the first time since the fight in the storage bay, Danny felt something he had not allowed himself to feel. Hope. Behind him, Warlord watched him go. His son stood beside him, shame and hatred burning in his eyes. "This is not over," the Warlord said quietly. "One way or another, the human will pay." But as he spoke, he noticed something. The human students in the gallery were not looking away. They were not cowering. They were watching him with the same steady eyes that the coal boy had. For the first time in his long life, Warlord wondered if he had underestimated his enemy. They sat together in silence as the station's lights dimmed to signal the night cycle. Somewhere on the other side of Velar 7's father received a message. His son had been beaten, humiliated by a human. Ray nothing special, and now he had found it. The human cared about the girl. That was a weakness, and knew exactly how to use it. The plan began to form in his mind as he turned and walked away. This time there would be no walking away. No ignoring. This time the human would learn what happened to beings who thought they could stand against the. This time would make him break. Or he would make him bleed. Humans had learned long ago that the universe did not care about them. That survival meant sacrifice. That love meant pain. And that the only way to keep going was to lock all of that away somewhere deep inside and never let it out. Until someone gave you a reason. Danny turned off the light and lay in the darkness. Tomorrow would be another day of quiet endurance, another day of swallowing insults and walking away from fights, another day of being exactly what the scholarship committee wanted him to be. But somewhere in the back of his mind, a small voice whispered a warning. Was not going to stop. Beings like him never did. They pushed and pushed until something pushed back. And when that happened, when Danny finally had no choice, the galaxy would learn what it really was. Not a monster. Something much worse. A survivor.